The last thing I remember was sitting on my lumpy old couch, wearing my favorite worn-out pajamas, and eating a giant bag of cheese puffs while watching a silly TV show. It was a completely normal, boring night. But then I blinked, and my entire world turned upside down. Now, I am waking up in a bedroom that is bigger than my entire old apartment. The bed is the size of a small boat, the sheets feel like literal clouds, and there is a giant crystal chandelier hanging from the ceiling. I sit up, rubbing my eyes and trying to make sense of the fancy silk nightgown I am wearing. That is when I see him. He is tall, wearing a dark, incredibly expensive-looking suit. He is standing by the giant window, staring outside with a scowl that could freeze boiling water. He looks mean. He looks like the kind of guy who kicks people out of his house just for breathing too loudly. But the second he hears the blankets rustle, his head snaps toward me. And just like magic, the scary scowl completely vanishes. Suddenly, he looks like a giant, happy golden retriever waiting for a treat. "You are awake," he says, his deep voice suddenly soft. He rushes to my side, dropping to his knees on the fluffy rug. He gently takes my hand, holding it like it is made of glass. "How do you feel? Are you hungry? Are you cold? I can have the chef make you anything you want right now." I just stare at him in total panic. I look down at my hand and see a massive, blinding diamond ring on my finger. I glance at the huge mirror across the room and see a face that is not mine. I am in the body of his wife, a woman named Lily. It is incredibly sweet how he treats me. He looks at me like I am the only person in the entire world. But it makes my stomach twist with terrible guilt. He clearly loves his wife more than anything, and he has no idea that she is completely gone and a random, clumsy girl took her place. I decide right then and there that I have to figure out how to act like a rich, elegant lady before he realizes his true love is missing. What I do not know yet, as I sit there feeling like the biggest fraud in the world, is that my incredibly handsome, overly clingy new husband is hiding a massive secret of his own. I am sweating trying to fool him, but the joke is actually entirely on me. Chapter 1. I woke up the next morning feeling like a bank robber who had somehow stolen a whole castle. The bed was way too big, and the blankets were so soft I felt like I was drowning in a cloud. I sat up slowly and looked around the giant room. Everything was gold, white, and very shiny. I took a deep breath. "Okay," I told myself. "You are Lily now. You are a rich, fancy wife. You just have to act like a rich, fancy wife, and he will never know you are actually a fake." I swung my legs out of bed. I stood up nice and tall. I stuck my chin in the air, trying to look like those snooty ladies on TV. I took one confident step forward. My foot caught the edge of the thick, fluffy rug. I let out a loud yell as my arms went flying. I closed my eyes, waiting for my face to smash into the hard floor. But I did not hit the ground. Instead, two strong arms caught me right around the waist. "I have got you," a deep voice said. I opened my eyes. Julian was holding me. He was already dressed for the day in a sharp dark suit. He looked like a cold, scary boss who yelled at people for fun. But when he looked down at me, his eyes were wide and soft. He looked like he had just won the lottery. "Are you okay?" he asked, pulling me back to my feet. He did not let go of my hands. "Did you hurt your ankle? I can call a doctor right now." "No," I said quickly, my face turning bright red. "I am fine. I was just testing the rug. It is very soft." Julian did not laugh at me. He just smiled. It was a huge, warm smile that made my stomach do flip-flops. "It is very soft," he agreed. "Come on. Breakfast is ready." He held my hand the whole way down the long hall and down the giant stairs. I felt bad. He was being so sweet, and I was just a clumsy girl lying to him. I had to try harder to be the elegant wife he thought I was. We sat down in a dining room that was bigger than my old school gym. The table was so long we had to sit at the very end just to be near each other. A nice lady in an apron brought out our food. First, she set down a pretty glass in front of me. It was a cold, sweet drink. The dark green matcha was at the very bottom, and thick, fluffy white foam sat perfectly on top. I took a sip, and it was the best thing I had ever tasted. Then, she put a plate of pancakes in front of me. I smiled and picked up my fork. I was ready to eat like a true lady. I cut a tiny piece, held my pinky finger out, and took a bite. I chewed slowly and smiled at Julian. "See," I thought. "I am very fancy." Julian was watching me. He rested his chin on his hand. He looked incredibly happy, but his eyes were dancing with amusement. "Is the food good?" he asked. "Oh yes," I said in a fake soft voice. "It is wonderful." He pointed to my hand. "I am glad you like it. But why are you eating your pancakes with the tiny fork meant for shrimp?" I froze. I looked down at my hand. I was holding the smallest, silliest fork on the table. My face got hot again. I quickly dropped the tiny fork, grabbed the biggest one I could find, and shoved a huge piece of pancake into my mouth to hide my embarrassment. Julian just laughed. It was a rich, happy sound. He reached across the table and wiped a bit of syrup off my cheek with his thumb. "Eat however you want," he said softly. "You are perfect just the way you are." I chewed my food, my heart beating fast. He was so nice to me. I just hoped he would never find out I was the wrong girl. Chapter 2. After the tiny fork disaster at breakfast, I decided I needed to explore the massive house. If I was going to pretend to be the lady of the mansion, I needed to know where things were. I went back to my giant closet and changed into something comfortable but nice. A soft blush pink sweater and cream-colored pants. I figured if I looked cozy and harmless, nobody would ask me any hard questions. The house was so quiet I could hear my own breathing. I walked down long hallways with giant paintings and shiny floors. I was stretching my arms a bit, doing a few light twists to stretch my core since the huge breakfast left me feeling heavy. That is when I heard it. A voice as cold and sharp as ice. "Do not give me excuses," the voice snapped. "I told you to fix the numbers. If you cannot do a simple job, I will find someone else who can. Leave." I stopped right in my tracks. It was Julian. I tiptoed toward a heavy wooden door that was cracked open just a little bit. I peeked inside. It was a huge office with dark walls and a giant desk. 5 men in boring gray suits were standing in front of the desk, looking down at the floor. They looked like they wanted to run away and hide in a closet. Julian was standing behind the desk. He did not look like the sweet, smiley guy who wiped syrup off my face an hour ago. He looked terrifying. His eyes were dark, his jaw was tight, and he looked like a king who was about to banish people from his land. "Get out of my sight," Julian growled. The men scrambled to turn around. As they moved, my elbow bumped the heavy wooden door. It made a loud creak. Julian's head snapped toward the door. For a split second, his eyes were still full of pure anger. I froze, my heart beating fast. I was sure he was going to yell at me too. But the second he saw my blush pink sweater, his whole face completely changed. It was like someone flipped a magic switch. The scary king was gone. The happy puppy was back. "Darling," he said. His voice was suddenly so soft it made the men in suits stop and stare at him in total shock. Julian walked quickly around his giant desk, completely ignoring the terrified men. He came right to the door and gently took my hands. His thumbs rubbed my knuckles. "What are you doing walking around barefoot?" he asked, his forehead wrinkling with worry. "The floors are cold." "Are you cold? Do you want a warm blanket? Should I light the fireplace in the sitting room?" I looked past his shoulder. The 5 men in suits were staring at us with their mouths wide open. They looked like they had just seen a ghost giving a hug. "I am not cold," I whispered, feeling my face turn red again. "I just heard yelling." I was worried. Julian shot a quick, icy glare over his shoulder at the men. They all jumped and practically ran out of the room, closing the door fast behind them. Then Julian looked back at me, smiling his huge, warm smile. "No yelling," he promised softly. "Everything is perfectly fine. I was just finishing some boring work. Come sit with me. I will have them bring you some sweet treats." He pulled me into the room and sat me on a plush sofa. Then he sat right next to me, just staring at my face like I was the best thing he had ever seen. I squeezed my eyes shut for a second. Oh no, I thought. He is so mean to everyone else, but he is so nice to me. When he finds out I am just a fake, he is going to be so heartbroken. I nodded and forced a smile, completely unaware that he already knew exactly who I was. Chapter 3. The next few days were pure torture. Not because Julian was mean, but because he was simply too nice. Every time I walked into a room, his face would light up like I was the sun. He bought me flowers. He asked me how I slept. He even had the chef make my favorite snacks. The guilt was eating me alive. I felt like a horrible person. I was a fake wife living a fake life, and he was giving me all his real love. I decided the only way to not ruin his life was to stay away from him as much as possible. I started hiding. After breakfast, I sneaked upstairs and found a sunny little sitting room. I had asked one of the maids for some soft baby wool and a hook. To calm my racing heart, I curled up in a big chair and started to make a pink hair scrunchie. Keeping my hands busy with the soft yarn always helped me think. I figured if I just stayed out of his way, he would go to work and forget about me for a while. 10 minutes later, the door slowly squeaked open. I looked up. Julian was standing in the doorway. He was wearing his fancy work pants and a perfectly ironed shirt, but his tie was loose. He did not look like a scary boss. He looked like a giant dog that had just been locked outside in the rain. "Hi," he said softly. "Hi," I squeaked, dropping my yarn in my lap. "Are you not supposed to be at work?" He walked into the room and sat right on the floor next to my chair. He crossed his long legs and looked up at me with big, sad eyes. "I took the day off, but I could not find you. You ran away after breakfast." "I did not run away," I lied, looking down at my half-finished scrunchie. "I just wanted to sit here." "Did I do something wrong?" he asked. He sounded so genuinely worried that my heart broke a little. "Are you mad at me? Is the house too boring? I can buy you a different house." "No," I said quickly. "Do not buy a house. You did nothing wrong. I wanted to be alone for a bit." Julian nodded slowly. He did not leave. Instead, he just rested his chin on the arm of my chair and watched my hands. "What are you making?" he asked. "A scrunchie," I whispered. "It is beautiful," he said. He reached out and gently touched the soft baby wool. "You can have alone time. I will just sit right here and be alone with you. I promise I will be very quiet." I wanted to cry. I was trying to give him space, but he just wanted to be exactly where I was. I kept working on my yarn, while the scariest man in the city happily watched me like it was the best TV show ever made. Chapter 4. I decided I needed to do something useful. I could not just sit around knitting and hiding all day. I needed a plan to figure out how to be a good fake wife. I found a quiet library in the house and sat down at a big wooden desk. I wanted to focus and write down some rules for myself. Back in my old world, whenever I needed to get things done, I used the Pomodoro trick. It is where you work for a little bit, then take a short break, over and over. It always helped me focus. Just as I was looking for a pen, the library door opened. Julian walked in carrying a silver tray. "I brought you some things," he said softly, setting the tray down on my desk. I looked at the tray, and my jaw almost hit the floor. First, there was a giant crystal bowl filled to the top with bright orange cheese puffs. The exact same cheap, messy cheese puffs I was eating on my lumpy couch right before I woke up in this world. Next to the bowl was a beautiful, soft notebook. It was not just any notebook. It was painted in blush pink and sage green, my absolute favorite colors. Written on the cover in pretty letters were the words "Strawberry Dream Focus." Finally, he set down a tiny, cute timer shaped like a tomato. "What is all this?" I asked, my voice squeaking a little. "Snacks and supplies," Julian said happily. He pointed to the little tomato. "For your Pomodoro studying. I know you like to work in small chunks of time, so you do not get bored. And I made sure the chef got the cheese puffs with extra cheese dust, just how you like them." My heart started beating so fast I thought it would jump out of my chest. "How does he know this?" I screamed in my head. "Fancy billionaire wives do not eat cheap cheese puffs. They eat tiny salads and expensive fish. And how on earth did he know about my pink and green notebooks, or the way I like to study? I had not told a single soul in this world about any of that." Thank you," I stammered, staring at him with wide eyes. "Of course," he said, beaming at me. He leaned down and pressed a soft kiss to the top of my head. "I will let you focus. Just call me if you need more snacks." He walked out of the library, looking happier than a kid in a candy store. I sat alone in the quiet room sweating. I picked up a cheese puff and ate it. It tasted exactly like home. This was getting weird. Julian was not treating me like Lily, the elegant wife. He was treating me exactly like me. It was way too specific. I looked at the timer and the pink notebook. He knew things he shouldn't know. Things only a boy from 10 years ago would know. I rubbed my forehead. Either I was going crazy, or my scary husband was hiding a very big secret. Chapter 5. After the cheese puff incident, I could not sit still. The pink notebook and the little tomato timer were staring at me like they knew my deepest secrets. I had to get out of the library before I lost my mind. I started walking down the long, quiet hallways of the second floor. The house was so big it felt like a museum. I passed giant, boring paintings of bowls of fruit and old men looking grumpy. As I turned a corner, I accidentally bumped into a maid carrying a tall stack of fluffy white towels. "Oh, I am so sorry," I gasped, reaching out to help her catch a falling towel. The maid looked at me like I had just grown a second head. She practically leaped backward, hugging the towels to her chest. "And no, madam," she stuttered, her eyes wide with fear. "Please do not apologize to me. The master will be very angry if he sees you doing chores." "The master?" I asked. I almost laughed. It sounded so dramatic. "You mean Julian? He is not going to yell at me over a dropped towel." The maid just stared at me, trembling a little. "He fired the last gardener because the man accidentally stepped on a pink flower near the patio. He said the pink ones are your favorite." I swallowed hard. "Oh." I handed her the towel, and quickly kept walking. My stomach was doing flips. He was terrifying everyone in this house just to make things perfect for me. The guilt was getting heavier by the second. I was ruining his life, and I was going to break his heart when he found out I was a fake. I wandered into a wing of the house I had not seen yet. At the very end of a dark, quiet hallway, there was a heavy wooden door. It was different from all the other doors. It did not have a normal shiny knob. It had a digital keypad. A locked door. In a scary billionaire's mansion. This was it. This had to be where he hid his dark secrets. Maybe it was a room full of stolen diamonds, or maybe it was a creepy room filled with pictures of the real, elegant Lily. I crept closer. The house was totally silent. I stared at the little glowing numbers on the keypad. I had no idea what the code could be, but for some weird reason, a silly memory flashed in my brain. When I was 15, stuck in that magical summer, Julian and I had built a terrible fort out of branches. I made him use a password to get inside. It was the date we met and the number of stolen apples we ate that day. July 14th and 5 apples. 07145. Beep, 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 beep. The heavy door unlocked. My jaw practically hit the floor. I pushed the door open and peeked inside, fully expecting to see something scary. Instead, I walked into a room bathed in warm, golden sunlight. It smelled like fresh air and faint vanilla, and it was completely full of junk. But not just any junk. I walked slowly toward a large wooden desk in the corner. My hands were shaking. Resting on the desk was a glass jar filled with dried green apple seeds. Next to it was a stack of worn-out comic books. The exact same comic books I used to read out loud to him when we hid in the garden. I touched a small glass display box. Inside was a terribly made, crooked friendship bracelet. It was tied with cheap blush pink and sage green string. I remembered making that exact bracelet. I sat in the dirt, tying those ugly knots, and forced a grumpy teenage boy to wear it. He pretended he hated it, but he never took it off. My breath caught in my throat. Why did he have all this? Why did he keep my messy, silly things locked in a beautiful room? Taking up the entire wall was a massive, beautiful drawing. It was not a picture of the elegant, perfect Lily. It was a drawing of a 15-year-old girl. She had messy hair pulled into a sloppy bun. She had a smudge of dirt on her nose. She was wearing a fading, oversized t-shirt, and she had her head thrown back in a loud, happy laugh. It was me. The real, loud, clumsy me. "You found it," a deep, soft voice said from the doorway. I jumped and spun around. Julian was standing there. He had taken off his suit jacket and rolled up his sleeves. He did not look angry that I had broken into his secret room. He just looked at me with those soft, helpless puppy dog eyes. "Julian," I whispered, my voice cracking. I pointed a shaking finger at the giant drawing. "Who is that?" He walked slowly into the room, stopping right in front of me. He looked up at the picture, a small, soft smile on his face. "That is the only girl I have ever loved," he said quietly. My heart shattered. He loved the memory of me, but he thought I was his perfect wife, Lily. The guilt finally boiled over like a hot pot of water. I could not take it anymore. I had to tell him the truth right now, even if it meant he would hate me forever. Chapter 6. I squeezed my eyes shut. I could not lie to him anymore. The guilt was way too heavy. I took a deep breath and blurted it out like ripping off a sticky bandage. "Julian, you have to listen to me. I am not your wife. I am not the elegant Lily you married. I am a fake. I am just a clumsy girl who eats too much junk food and trips over flat rugs. The real Lily is gone, and I took her place by accident, and I am so sorry. I squeezed my eyes tighter, waiting for the yelling. I waited for him to call his guards and throw me out into the street. I waited for his heart to break. Instead, I heard a sound that made me open my eyes in total shock. Julian was laughing. It was not a mean laugh. It was a loud, happy, booming laugh that echoed in the quiet room. He took a huge step forward, wrapped his big arms around my waist, and picked me right up off the floor. He spun me around once, hugging me so tight my ribs almost squeaked. "Put me down," I squeaked, kicking my feet in the air. "Did you not hear me? I ruined your marriage." Julian set me down but did not let go of my waist. His dark eyes were shining with pure joy. "My sweet silly girl," he said, pressing his forehead against mine. "I heard you, and I know you are not the elegant Lily I married. I have known since the exact second you opened your eyes this morning." "Of course I knew," he said softly, smiling at me like I was the best prize in the entire world. "Do you honestly think I would not recognize the girl who fell out of a tree and landed right on my head 10 years ago? The only girl who ever bossed me around and made me wear an ugly pink and green string bracelet. But the wedding ring." I held up my hand, showing off the giant, blinding diamond. "You are married to the real Lily." Julian chuckled and grabbed my hand, pressing a soft kiss to the back of it. "Yes, we got married. But it was not for love. The real Lily and I never even liked each other. She thought I was way too grumpy, and I thought she was way too boring." "Then why did you marry her?" I asked, feeling completely lost. Julian gently led me over to a small, soft sofa in the room and pulled me down next to him. He kept his arm wrapped tightly around my shoulders, like he was afraid I might float away. "Because of you," he said simply. 10 years ago, you told me you were just visiting from another world. When you vanished, I looked everywhere for you. Eventually, the real Lily and I figured out what happened. And it turns out, the real Lily hated it here. She figured out how to see your world, and she actually fell in love with a guy over there." I gasped. "She did?" "Yes," Julian nodded. "She wanted to escape to your world, and I only wanted one thing in my entire life, to get you back. We found an old magic trick in a very old book. The magic needed a strong bond to work. So Lily and I made a deal. We got legally married just to trigger the magic swap. She gets to go to your world and eat cheese puffs with her new guy, and I finally get my first love." I sat there, my mouth hanging wide open. I tried to process what he was saying. The scary, grumpy billionaire did not just wait for me. He set up an entire fake marriage and a crazy magic deal just to pull me back to him. "I would have done a lot more," he said, looking at me with completely obsessed, happy eyes. "You are never getting rid of me now." Chapter 7. I stared at him for a long moment. My brain finally caught up with his words. I did not ruin his life. I was not a fake wife stealing someone else's husband. I was exactly the person he wanted all along. A huge, heavy weight lifted right off my chest. I felt so light I could have floated up to the shiny ceiling. But then a totally different feeling took over. Annoyance. I smacked his strong arm. "Ouch," Julian said, though he did not look hurt at all. In fact, his smile just got wider. Julian threw his head back and laughed. It was a loud, rich sound that made my toes curl. He pulled me closer, burying his face in my neck. "I am sorry, I really am. But you were trying so hard to be fancy and quiet. It was the cutest thing I have ever seen. I just wanted to see how long you would last before you finally yelled at me like you used to." "So, you really remember everything about that summer?" I asked softly, resting my head against his chest. I could hear his heartbeat. It was fast and strong, and it was beating just for me. "I remember every single second," he whispered, resting his chin on top of my head. "I was 15. I was absolutely miserable. I had no friends and I hated everyone. I used to sit in the garden and just glare at the grass. And then I fell out of the apple tree." I giggled, remembering the dizzy blur of green leaves and gravity. I covered my face with my hands, my cheeks burning hot. I was a total terror. "You were perfect," he said softly. He gently pulled my hands away from my face and held them tightly in his own. "You dragged me everywhere. You made me skip my boring lessons to build ugly forts in the woods. You made me eat sour green apples until my stomach hurt. You talked for hours about your world, about silly TV shows and loud cars and cheap snacks. You were the only bright, happy thing in my entire life." I looked up into his eyes. They were not scary or cold anymore. They were full of so much pure love it almost made me want to cry. When you woke up one day and started acting like the real Lily. Julian's voice cracked a little. He looked away for a second. When you were suddenly quiet, polite, and terrified of getting dirt on your shoes. I knew my loud, funny girl was gone. It broke my heart. I promised myself I would grow up, get powerful, and do whatever it took to find you again. I reached up and gently touched his cheek. He instantly leaned into my hand, closing his eyes like a big, happy golden retriever getting a head scratch. Well, I whispered, smiling up at him. You found me. And you did it without even leaving your house. Julian opened his eyes and looked at me with that intense, completely obsessed look. Yes. And you are never, ever allowed to climb a tree without me catching you again. Chapter 8. So, tell me more about this crazy deal. I said, getting comfortable on the soft sofa. I tucked my feet under Julian's leg, and he immediately rested his warm hand on my ankles. How did you and the real Lily actually pull this off? Julian groaned and tipped his head back against the sofa. It was the most annoying month of my entire life. You have to understand, the real Lily and I could not stand each other. She thought I was a grumpy, scary boss, and I thought she was the most boring person on the planet. Hey, I poked his side. Do not be mean to her. She gave me my life back. Julian caught my hand and kissed my fingers. That is the only reason I like her. Anyway, a few years ago, Lily found a dusty old mirror in her family's attic. It had old magic in it. She looked into it, and instead of seeing her own face, she saw your world. Wow, I breathed out. Yes. And she started watching a guy over there. A totally normal guy who works at a pet store. She completely fell in love with him. Julian laughed, shaking his head. She used to talk to the mirror for hours, telling him how much she hated wearing fancy silk dresses and going to boring tea parties. She just wanted to wear sweatpants and play with dogs. I could not help it. I burst out laughing. She sounds like she belongs in my world. Exactly, Julian nodded. But the magic mirror was not strong enough to just pull her through. We needed a huge burst of old magic. And the book said the only way to get that much magic was a binding oath. A wedding. I traced a pattern on his shirt collar. So you two got married just to break the rules of the universe? I giggled, imagining the scary, cold CEO rushing through his wedding just so the bride could run away to eat pizza. The second the priest said we were married, the magic snapped, Julian said, his voice dropping to a soft whisper. He looked down at me, his dark eyes totally focused on my face. Lily fell to the floor. And when she opened her eyes, it was you. The messy, loud girl who stole my heart 10 years ago. You looked around the fancy church, grabbed a piece of the wedding cake with your bare hands, and shoved it in your mouth. You did. Julian laughed softly. And right then I knew my plan worked. I had my girl back. I smiled and leaned my head on his chest. It was the funniest, craziest story I had ever heard. The whole city thought Julian was a terrifying boss who had a perfectly normal, boring marriage. They had no idea that his wife was actually eating cheese puffs in another dimension, and he was happily stuck with me. Well, I said softly, I am very glad you made that deal. Julian wrapped both arms around me and held me tight. Me too. Best business deal of my life. Chapter 9. I dug through the bottom drawers until I found a pair of overly large, fluffy pajama pants and a plain, oversized white t-shirt. I did not brush my hair into shiny, perfect waves. Instead, I threw it up into a very messy, crooked bun right on top of my head. I marched downstairs feeling lighter than air. No more walking slowly. No more hiding in empty rooms. And definitely no more tiny shrimp forks. I walked right into the giant dining room. Julian was sitting at the long table, looking at his phone. He had his usual scary, grumpy face on, the one that made the maids tremble and his workers run away. I walked straight past the nice lady waiting to serve me, grabbed a piece of warm toast, completely ignored the fancy silver butter knife, and dunked the whole thing right into a jar of strawberry jam. Julian looked up. He stared at my very messy hair, my baggy pajamas, and the huge glob of red jam on my chin. I stopped chewing for a second. Is he going to tell me to go change? I thought. Instead, the scary scowl melted right off his face. A giant, happy smile took over. He dropped his phone on the table, stood up, and pulled out the chair right next to his own. He patted the seat, looking at me like I was a puppy that just did a trick. "Finally," he said happily, handing me a napkin. "I was wondering when you would stop wearing those awful stiff dresses." "You hated them too?" I asked with a full mouth, sitting down next to him. "They looked incredibly boring," he said softly. He did not let me use the napkin. Instead, he reached over and gently wiped the jam off my chin with his thumb. "I missed this. I missed you being messy." I spent the rest of the day just being exactly who I was. I did not sit perfectly straight in the library. I laid completely upside down on the expensive sofa in the living room, my legs hanging over the top, while I ate more cheese puffs. I watched my silly TV shows on the giant flat screen, and laughed out loud at all the bad jokes. At one point, I knocked over my glass of juice. It spilled all over a very white, very expensive rug. I gasped and ran to get a towel, but Julian just caught my waist and pulled me onto his lap. He told the maids to leave the stain alone because it added character to the boring room. It was amazing. I did not have to be perfect. I did not have to be an elegant lady. He did not want a quiet, polite wife. He just wanted my loud, messy, clumsy self, and he looked completely happy just watching me ruin his clean house. Chapter 10. A few nights later, Julian told me he had to go to a very big, very boring work party. He asked if I wanted to come with him. I agreed, but only on my terms. I wore a pretty dark green dress, but absolutely refused to wear high heels. Instead, I wore my favorite comfortable white sneakers under the long skirt. Julian thought it was the most amazing thing he had ever seen. When we got to the giant ballroom, it was packed with people in stiff suits and uncomfortable dresses. Julian held my hand perfectly tight, guiding me through the crowd. He looked incredible in his black suit, but his face was set in his scary, grumpy scowl. People practically jumped out of our way to avoid making eye contact with him. After a little while, a few older men pulled Julian aside to talk about some boring work stuff. I told him I was going to find the snack table. He kissed my hand, told me not to wander off, and went back to his scary boss mode. I found a table covered in tiny, fancy sandwiches. I was happily eating my third one when a guy walked up to me. He was young, wearing a shiny silver suit, and smelled like he had taken a bath in strong cologne. He gave me a huge, oily smile. "Eating a sandwich," I said honestly, showing him my half-eaten snack. Marcus laughed like I had just told a hilarious joke. He stepped a little closer. "You are funny. I like funny girls. You look way too young and fun to be at a stuffy party like this. How about I show you the gardens outside?" "I am married," I said, pointing to my giant diamond ring with my sandwich hand. "Oh, come on," Marcus smirked, leaning in even closer. "A pretty girl like you needs someone who knows how to have fun, not some boring old guy." Suddenly, the air in the room felt freezing cold. Marcus stopped talking. He blinked, looking over my shoulder. The oily smile slowly melted off his face. I turned around. Julian was standing right behind me. He was not looking at me. He was staring dead at Marcus. Julian did not say a single word. He did not yell. He did not raise his hands. He just stood perfectly still, letting out an aura so dark and terrifying that I actually felt a little bad for the guy in the shiny suit. Julian's dark eyes were locked onto Marcus like a hungry lion watching a very slow rabbit. Marcus started to sweat. He took a tiny step back. Julian just tilted his head a tiny bit. His glare got even colder. "I just remembered," Marcus squeaked, his voice cracking. "I left my car running in the parking lot. Good to meet you." Marcus spun around and literally ran away. He pushed past two waiters and nearly knocked over a giant plant as he rushed for the exit. The second the door swung shut behind the guy, the freezing cold aura vanished. Julian let out a long breath and completely relaxed. He wrapped both of his strong arms around my waist from behind and rested his chin right on top of my head, holding me close. "I do not like this party anymore," Julian mumbled, sounding like a grumpy giant puppy. "He was looking at you for way too long." "He was just talking, you big baby," I laughed, leaning back into his warm chest. "And I think you just gave him nightmares for the rest of his life." "Good," Julian grumbled, pressing a kiss to my hair. "Let him have nightmares. You are my first love, and I waited 10 years for you. I am not letting anyone in a shiny suit talk to you. Let's steal these sandwiches and go home." Chapter 11. We did not even say goodbye to anyone. Julian grabbed a whole tray of the tiny sandwiches, handed it to me, and we ran out the back door of the giant ballroom like two kids sneaking out of school. We drove back to our massive house, but we did not go inside. Instead, Julian grabbed a huge, fluffy blanket from the car and led me out to the garden. We walked past the fancy bushes and the shiny fountains until we found the exact same apple tree I had fallen out of when I was 15. Julian spread the blanket over the soft grass. He took off his stiff suit jacket and his tie, throwing them on the ground like they were old rags. I kicked off my white sneakers and sat down cross-legged, putting the tray of squished sandwiches right between us. "So," I said, pointing a tiny piece of bread at him, "you spent 10 years becoming a scary billionaire. What else did you do?" Julian laid down on his side, propping his head up on his hand. He looked at me under the bright stars, his eyes totally soft and obsessed. "Nothing else," he said honestly. "I just worked so I could have enough money and power to find the magic to get you back. Every single day, I just thought about the girl who made me wear ugly string bracelets." "That is crazy," I whispered. My heart felt like it was going to burst. "You did all these huge things. Meanwhile, my life was completely boring. I went to a normal high school. I worked at a quiet store folding shirts. I ate a lot of junk food on my old couch and watched silly movies. I did nothing special at all." "Tell me everything," Julian begged. He moved closer, wrapping his free arm around my waist and pulling me right against his side. "Tell me about the movies. Tell me about the shirts you folded. Tell me every single thing you did for the last 10 years. I laughed, feeling a warm, happy flutter in my stomach. And so, I started talking. We sat under the stars for hours. I told him about my funny friends in my old world. I told him about the grumpy orange cat that used to sleep on my porch. I told him how I accidentally burned a frozen pizza last week, because I was watching a really good show. To anyone else, my stories would be totally boring. But to Julian, it was like I was telling him the secrets of the universe. He listened to every single word. He laughed when I talked about dropping my ice cream on the sidewalk, and he looked genuinely angry when I told him about a rude boss I had at the shirt store. He just held my hand, gently rubbing his thumb over my knuckles the entire time. Eventually, I ran out of stories. The garden was completely quiet, and the moon was high in the sky. I rested my head on his chest, listening to his strong, steady heartbeat. I looked up at his happy, peaceful face in the moonlight. For a few days, I really thought I was just a clumsy fake who was ruining a perfect life. But sitting right here, with the boy who waited 10 years just to hear me talk about burnt pizza, I knew the truth. I was not a fake at all. I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Chapter 12. The next morning, while we were eating breakfast, with normal-sized forks of course, I suddenly realized something crazy. I looked across the table at Julian, who was happily reading the newspaper while holding my foot in his lap under the table. "Julian," I said, putting down my toast. "We are married, but we have never actually been on a date." Julian put his newspaper down. He blinked at me. "A date?" "Yes, a date." I waved my hands. You know, when two people like each other, so they go out and do fun things before they decide to spend forever together. We skipped all that. We went straight from a summer when we were kids, to a magic spell, to being legally married. Julian's eyes instantly lit up. He looked like I had just offered him $1 million. "You want to go on a date with me? I will call my pilot. We can take the private jet to Paris for lunch. Or I can rent out an entire island for the weekend. I will buy you a boat." "No, no, no." I laughed, reaching over to pat his hand. "That is rich CEO stuff. I want a normal, completely average, silly first date." Julian looked very confused, but he nodded. "Okay, whatever you want." A few hours later, we left the giant mansion. I made Julian leave his expensive suits in the closet. I forced him to wear a plain black t-shirt and a pair of blue jeans. He grumbled about it, but honestly, he looked even more handsome than usual. I did not let his driver take us in the fancy black car. Instead, we walked down the busy city streets until we found a bright, noisy little diner that smelled like fried food and sugar. "We are eating here?" Julian asked, looking at the sticky tables and the bright neon signs. He looked completely out of place. "Yes," I said proudly, pulling him into a red booth. "This is a real date." We ordered the biggest, messiest cheeseburgers on the menu, a giant plate of fries and 2 milkshakes. When the food arrived, Julian just stared at his burger. It was huge, dripping with melted cheese and some kind of secret sauce. How do I eat this without a knife? He asked quietly, looking around like someone was going to yell at him. Like this, I said. I picked up my huge burger with both hands and took a giant bite. I got ketchup on my nose, but I did not care. Julian watched me, his lips twitching into a huge smile. He picked up his burger and took a bite. A giant drop of sauce fell right onto his plain black t-shirt. For a second, the scary billionaire froze. I thought he was going to be mad about the stain. Instead, he just started laughing. He grabbed a paper napkin, wiped his face, and took another huge bite. We sat in that noisy, sticky booth for 2 hours. We stole fries off each other's plates. We laughed so hard at terrible jokes that my stomach actually hurt. I watched the cold, terrifying Ice King completely relax. He did not check his phone once. He did not glare at anyone. He just drank his milkshake, held my hand across the table, and looked at me like I was the only girl in the universe. So, Julian said softly as we finally walked out of the diner, our fingers tangled together. The sun was starting to set, making the sky look pink and orange. How did I do? Was I a good first date? I stopped walking and turned to look at him. I reached up and wiped a tiny speck of ketchup off his cheek. You were perfect, I smiled. I think I might actually marry you. Julian laughed, pulling me into a tight, warm hug right there on the sidewalk. You already did, he whispered against my hair. And I am never letting you go. Epilogue. Instead of boring bowls of fruit on the kitchen counter, there are giant bags of cheese puffs. My pink and green notebooks are scattered all over Julian's scary, dark office desk. And the maids no longer run away when I accidentally drop a towel. They just laugh and help me pick it up. Julian is still the terrifying Ice King when he goes to work. He still glares at people and makes grown men shake in their expensive suits. But the exact second he walks through our front door, he takes off his fancy tie, drops his briefcase, and turns right back into my giant happy puppy. Right now, we are sitting on the fluffy rug in the living room. I am trying to teach him how to play a very silly racing video game. He is absolutely terrible at it. He keeps driving his little digital car straight into the wall. But he does not care at all, mostly because he is too busy playing with my messy bun while I sit sideways on his lap. You have to steer away from the wall, Julian. I laugh, tapping his arm. Before he can answer, a soft, glowing light fills the corner of the room. We both look over. The light is coming from the old magic mirror, the one the original Lily used to watch my world. I gasp and pick it up. It is a letter from the original Lily. I quickly unfold it and read it out loud. Just wanted to say hello from the other world. I finally bought a dog. His name is Buster and he is the best. My guy and I are eating cold pizza, right now in our pajamas. It is amazing. I hope you two are having fun in the boring rich world. P.S. I found your secret stash of gummy bears hidden inside the lumpy couch. Thanks. Lily. I laugh so hard I have to lean back against Julian. He rolls his eyes, but he wraps his strong arms around my waist and rests his chin securely on top of my head. She thinks this world is boring, Julian says, smiling his warm, bright smile down at me. She has absolutely no idea. I grab a pink pen from the table and write a quick note right on the back of her paper. We are so glad you are happy. Keep the gummy bears, you definitely earned them. Give Buster a belly rub for us. I drop the note back against the glass of the mirror. It glows for 1 second. And then the paper completely vanishes back to my old world. The room goes quiet again. Julian gently turns me around so I am facing him. He looks down at me with those soft, dark eyes that still look at me like I am the only star in the sky. So, Julian whispers, gently brushing a piece of hair behind my ear. Are you happy? Do you miss your old world at all? I look up at the grumpy teenage boy from my summer dream, who grew up to be a powerful man who built an entire fake marriage and broke the rules of magic just to bring me home. Not even a little bit. I tell him honestly, standing up on my tiptoes to kiss him. I am finally exactly where I belong. We do not have to make any more magic deals. We do not have to hide in secret locked rooms. And I never have to eat with a tiny shrimp fork again. We just get to sit under our favorite apple tree, eat messy cheeseburgers, and be completely beautifully in love. Forever.